Hello and welcome back, world. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. So today I want to talk, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the corruption in the state of South Dakota. Not only that, I'm going to cover what's going on with this single subject rule, and did South Dakota actually violate the single subject rule by legalizing marijuana in both the recreational vote and the medical vote. And I'm going to go ahead and dive into that. So I'm going to start back over here with Kristi Noem and what she has done. So this is going back to 2019, where she says no to growing hemp in South Dakota. It goes up for vote. People of South Dakota vote yes for hemp, and Kristi Noem vetoes it. She says it's going to basically lead to legalizing marijuana, and she does not want that. Also, at this point in time, Kristi Noem's husband is a crop insurance salesman. At this point in time, the federal government has not approved any cannabis plant to be insured. So his insurance company cannot approve any South Dakota farmers for growing hemp, aka why she does not want hemp to be approved in her farmlands. Also, you got to think she's probably getting kickbacks from probably Bayer Monsanto because of the contracts and the farmers in her land that are having, the three main crops in the South Dakota are corn, soybean, and wheat. And those things are genetically modified. They are patented by Bayer Monsanto, and the farmers there are under contract by the government to plant those crops. And so no wonder why Kristi Noem does not want to legalize industrial hemp in this state. So because she does this, she vetoes it. She's worried about, and this is quoted, she's worried about the hemp farmers, the people who actually want to farm hemp. She's worried about the retribution from them, that they're going to actually retaliate against her. So she builds a $500,000 fence around the governor's mansion. Unbelievable. It's ridiculous. And it's if that doesn't scream corruption to you, the fact that she vetoed something that the people actually voted on, and then built a fence around her property, quoting that she was worried that people were going to attack her for it. Maybe you shouldn't do things that you're worried about people are attacking you for. So here is on heavy.com, Brian Noem, Kristi Noem's husband, 5 facts you need to know. This is here. Brian Noem runs insurance. Not only that, but he was working at the state bank, and he purchases the insurance business, turning it to his agency. His agency focuses on crop insurance. Then much later, the federal government comes out and says that hemp can actually be insured. So Kristi Noem goes ahead and actually pushes through the legalization of hemp cultivation in her state because her husband can now insure it, which is corruption. Not only that, but she screws that program up. She says that they cannot cultivate any indoor cultivation on their hemp program. There's no indoor cultivation at all. You can't even start seedlings indoors or have mother plants indoors and make cuttings for your outdoor plants. That's illegal in South Dakota. Why? Because of ridiculous politicians. That's basically it. She has no idea what she's talking about when it comes to this plant, and she's just got the fear of God in her, saying it's going to be terrible. Fast forward to November of last year. South Dakota people, 54% of people vote for recreational marijuana, 74% of people vote for medical marijuana, and Governor Noem doesn't like that. Oh, not my state. We can't be having stoners in my state. So she goes ahead and she puts up $400,000 in an executive order to put that Amendment A away, and she is successful. They overturn it. They say that it is unconstitutional, and it goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court then takes it up, and they rule against it as well. They say that the single subject rule is violated. That's going to be the first test for the single subject rule in South Dakota. Now I want to break that down for people who don't understand what marijuana is, or if you do know what marijuana is and you're enraged by the fact that the corruption is going through the United States, and especially in the most conservative state in the United States, and just corruption is taking over. And this is pure, simple evidence. Kristi Noem also she went and intimidated some people who were issuing real estate licenses for her daughter to get a real estate license. And then she put a settlement out there for over $200,000 because the person she intimidated filed a lawsuit for harassment, and she settled on it for $200,000. And then now that person was called into question by the state authorities, and magically her daughter is going to give her real estate license up. So again, I just want to highlight before I hop into the single subject rule, Kristi Noem is known multiple times over to be corrupt and to make bad decisions and to do whatever she wants, like a tyrannical dictatorship. So the single subject rule for marijuana. First, I want to talk about what the single subject rule is. They're basically saying that a single subject is all that something can be changed when it comes to the state constitution at one time. They can't basically, log rolling of combining multiple proposals into one ballot. This is very similar to what the government has been doing with the COVID relief fund, sending $25 million to Pakistan for gender studies and sending billions of dollars places where they said it was supposed to be for COVID relief for our country, and they just grouped it all in together. And now that is exactly what this single subject rule is supposed to tackle. And I'm going to tell you why the legalization of cannabis is not a violation of a single subject rule. Okay, so if you are not familiar with plants or even biology, things are always going to be classified in genus, kingdom, phylum. Okay, so if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go ahead, take a biology class and maybe look at that. This is the person who distinguished cannabis was Carl Linnaeus. The genus Cannabis, family Cannabaceae. I want to talk about that real quick. So Cannabaceae, it does have a couple other plants in there. One, most notably, people know, is hops. Cannabaceae contains marijuana, hemp, which is both the same plant, and also something similar, a cousin called hops. Two wildly different plants. Hops is not inebriating, but it's very well known for giving beer its flavor, that hoppy flavor. If you break it down even further to genus, kingdom, phylum, Cannabaceae, cannabis. Okay, now we're into the cannabis family. There's 3 phylums that have been distinguished into the cannabis family, which would be Cannabis rudialis, Cannabis sativa, and Cannabis indica. And there's even talk about how these things have been, even to this point, have been so interbred that there's no difference in between them. That is a completely different subject. However, I want to relate this to you because it's a single subject. So when we talk about a cannabis plant, it's the same plant. It looks the exact same for marijuana. It smells the exact same for hemp. So a hemp plant and a marijuana plant and a recreational plant, a medical marijuana plant, they're all the exact same. The exact same. And I'm sure that people understand this because in the horticultural world, this is what we call a cultivated variety or a cultivar. And everybody knows somehow in their brain they understand a cultivar because you've been shopping out there in different times of the year, whether that was Easter time. You see Easter lilies. Easter lilies are a cultivated variety of a Asiatic lily, and also different types of poinsettias. Here's a article about 38 different types of poinsettias. Okay, carousel red, classic white, early Monet, enduring marble. These are all different types of poinsettias. They are all same poinsettias. So this is very similar to when we say cannabis. So the poinsettia scientific name is euphorbia, and this is just like cannabis. So euphorbia, cannabis. This is the same family name here, and the pulchumeria, that would be its name, whereas Cannabis sativa, Cannabis indica, Cannabis rudialis, right here. Same thing. Genus, kingdom, phylum. Okay, Cannabaceae, Cannabis sativa. This is the exact same thing that we are talking about. The single subject rule over here. It shouldn't be violated because we are talking about cannabis. We are talking about cannabis. Now the debate here comes down to our current government and the the fact that our current government has allowed all of these lines to become convoluted. Well, that's recreational marijuana. That's medical marijuana. Well, that's hemp. Well, the reality is they are all the exact same plant. They are all just different cultivated varieties. They look the exact same. They smell the exact same. They have a little bit different essential oil content. All right, so did South Dakota violate a single subject rule? Not as far as a botanist is concerned. Not as far as anybody with a horticultural degree is concerned. Not as far as the entire population of South Dakota is concerned. That's the other thing we should start to identify here is 60,000 people collected signatures to put on that recreational marijuana vote. And they overturned it like it was nothing. Okay? And the thing is if 60,000 people collected those votes and they went and they turned that in, at that point in time, whoever was looking at what was to be put on the ballots, and they say, hey, these people collected 60,000 signatures, but looks like the wording isn't quite right. They should have fixed it then, because they knew it was going to be voted on. But they didn't. They let it be voted on, even though the wording was not up to par. And then it got approved. And then they started backpedaling because really they didn't think it was going to be approved. But it is, because the mindset has shifted on cannabis. The cat is out of the bag. We understand that the government is lying. You are putting people into jail for nonviolent drug use, and it doesn't make any sense because you allow us to use alcohol and tobacco and everything else under the sun. And all the prescription drugs are terrible for us. So, no, South Dakota did not violate a single subject rule. Yes, Kristi Noem is corrupt. She deserves to be removed from office. So do the two sheriffs that were colluding with her and trying to put up that lawsuit against the Amendment A. They should be removed. So, guys, if you agree with this, share it if you found something in here that you didn't know before, and please pay attention to what's going on in your states, because if you haven't been paying attention to what's going on in the country, the corruption is going through the roof, and we need to nip it in the bud here because, hey, the people voted on this. This is democracy, and we need to respect democracy if we expect America to keep going. Thanks for watching.